If you ever consider joining a franchise organization, you will love my candid conversation with Harry Welby-Cooke, Master Licensee for ActionCOACH in South Africa. Harry will share with us valuable insights, the benefits, and many of the do's and don'ts in franchise ownership. Harry, what do you feel are the top 3 skills that someone needs to be successful in franchising?
Wow, I think, the benefit of franchising is that you buy a business for yourself, but not by yourself. So I think first and foremost, probably being a team player, you must want to work within a team. I think you have the independence of your own business, but you still form part of a bigger purpose, a bigger, culture, a bigger group of people. So a team player, definitely one of them. I think the other one is you have to be, really committed to your own future. Business is merely a vehicle that serves you, and you must be hungry to chase that future. So if you see franchising and your business as a vehicle to serve you and you dedicated to make that happen, then I think that's probably the second. And I think the third is franchising is a business. Whether you look at it any other way, it's still a business. And with business today, you need resilience. You will have days that are great. You will have days where it's maybe not so great and you fall down, and it's the faster you bounce back that makes the success. So if you're a team player, you're dedicated to your future and seeing this as a vehicle to serve you, and you've got that resilience, I think you'll do really, really well in franchising.
I understand. And what made you invest in the business? First of all, what do you think? Where did it start, and what made you invest in the franchise business, specifically in our industry?
Yeah, great question. So I think, we've been doing this a long time now. So I had a corporate career in commercial banking, and big portion of that I used to lend people money. So I'd been exposed to a lot of different franchises. I knew where new property developments were going up, and being in banking, we moved around a little bit, and my wife had 2 rules. She said, I don't move all your paperwork, and I don't move your wine collection. And that was obviously the biggest, bulkiest, heaviest things to move around. And I got to the point where corporate was no longer the right fit for me. And one of the main reasons for that was you get into a career and you build a career based on passion, hard work, challenging the boundaries, that kind of thing. But you get promoted to a point in corporate where, no, that maverick kind of style no longer really fits. You must just take orders and pass them down. And that didn't suit me. And I got to the point where I wanted something else. I think like a lot of people, when you don't find the right thing, you leave and you become a corporate refugee. That's what I call myself. And you print a business card and you start a consulting business of some form. And that's exactly what I did, because I went through this process of seeing a lot of hardworking, passionate people never get the business plan to work out according to the theory when we lent them money. And I used to sleep very nicely at night, knowing full well that the poor entrepreneur, the poor business owner was awake, struggling to do that. And I thought, but there's a better way. So initially I went into management consulting kind of focus, where every business has got information available. And if you could use that information to make better decisions instead of gut instinct and thumb suck and react, you'd have a more successful business. And I did that initially, but it still wasn't the right fit. And what I found is you can tell people what to do. That doesn't mean that they do it. And I'd researched coaching as an add-on initially. That was my thinking. This is going back now to 2006, 2007. And yes, you had Fortune 500 blue chip companies at executive level were being coached. Life coaching was kind of starting to emerge. But the focus that I was in, that entrepreneurial business owner kind of space, there wasn't really anything that I could find. And literally, I stumbled, and I say stumbled because I'd looked at that same page for many, many years. I opened the National Sunday Times newspaper, and on the inside front page of the Business Times section, there was an advert that said, "Are you passionate about business and helping others?" And I thought, well, that suits me perfectly. There was a little tagline in there that said, "Master License for South Africa available." And I thought, well, initially this would be a good add-on to the coaching business, to the consulting business. go in, do the analysis, tell people what they do, and then coach them in how to do it. And, interacted with the head office team, got to speak to Brad, got to speak to the CEO at that stage, and just thought that this was the perfect fit, and not just from an initial marriage between the consulting and the coaching business, but as a full-time business that could really make a material difference to business owners and entrepreneurs. And I think almost 17 years later now, we still do the same thing. We're passionate about business and we're passionate about helping others. And that little advert still stands on the wall proudly framed, because it reminds me of where we've come from, but also why I do this every single day.
And I guess, so franchising is, why do you feel franchising is so popular at this time?
Yeah, so I think two fronts. Franchising in general is a go-to source for business, because there is structure, there is a system, there is a brand, there is a proven track record, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So you get to buy an off-the-shelf solution that has been tried and tested. And I think, whether it be any franchise out there, that's the benefit of a true franchise. I think the benefit of this franchise is that there's a lot of really good, experienced, educated individuals who want to do something for themselves and default into, buying a burger franchise or an elderly care franchise, or something that's not really aligned to their experience levels and their passions, but they couldn't find something else. And I think that this really was a blend of that, to say, I don't have to flip burgers. I can use my experience, I can use my education, I can use my passion, and I can make a business of helping other people. And the Action Coach franchise allowed the off-the-shelf recipe, but specifically in the professional services space, which was really attraction for me.
Well, it's what we call the white collar space. And I think that's what you're saying basically then, is that you really don't need to have any kind of specific background to be able to own an Action Coach franchise or be a franchisee for Action Coach.
Well, that's often a question that I'm asked, is, so, well, what's the criteria? What makes the perfect Action Coach? And, there's no concrete kind of recipe, but it does involve three things. Obviously, we look at your education and what you've done in the past, but also your business experience. Now, some people are very experienced in a corporate role. Some people are maybe more experienced in an entrepreneurial role. And then the third element is your passion and your heart for this business. And it's really the combination of all of those. And we've had everything from the most educated individuals with masters and PhD degrees in a specific field, through to people who've come through the ranks and started at the bottom and might not have got the benefit of that level of qualifications and education, but have built businesses and impacted lives, all around the world sometimes. So it's really a combination of those: education, experience, and passion and heart. And the mix of those is what really gives anybody the opportunity to make this a success.
And let's just say I wanted to invest in a franchise. What do you think I should be asking a franchisor? What questions should I be asking prior to taking the step and join Action Coach?
Well, I think the first thing is you need to ask yourself a lot of questions around your motivation and your future plans, and do some of that introspection. I think is a good way to start. But a good franchise should help you through that anyway. If you're starting to look at a franchise, I think you need to ask questions like, am I a fit for it? So if somebody's sitting in front of me, I want them to ask, am I fit? So we can actually debate and discuss that. And I'm always going to bring that up because it must serve them. A business must serve you. So you must ask questions around that. And is there alignment between the franchise that you're looking at getting into and the plan that you have for yourself and for your family and for your future? I think that's critical. Then one needs to look at saying, well, is this a true franchise? Because there are good, bad, and ugly versions of it out there. So what is the history? And not just the history in the amount of years operating, but, what different markets have they operated in? Are they operating in similar markets to the market I'm choosing to operate in? Do they have the systems and the tools and the support that they supposedly propose? And I remember a friend of mine saying at one stage, they were looking at a franchise and they said, they found the perfect franchise and there was no royalties. And I said, had they promised to give you support and ongoing innovations and things like that? And he said, yes, absolutely. I said, no, that's not a franchise. That's a pyramid scheme. Because as long as they're selling to new people, they can fund all the promises. A franchise needs to have upfront costs to pay for the recipe that's proven. And if you're getting it for cheap, I'd be concerned. There needs to be a fair and equitable ongoing investment to be made, because that then ensures, that's my insurance policy as the franchisee, that things will take place as promised, that it can be sustainable, and that there is a win-win for the franchisor, the franchisee, and also the ultimate customer or client that we serve through the business.
That's a great insight. And how do you feel it would be a big difference, or is there a difference from you? You're in South Africa, which is a huge, diverse country. You have different. How do you feel? The concept and the franchise works in South Africa. Is it any different that how it works in the UK or in the Middle East, for example?
It's a great question, and I think in the early stages when we launched, people always used to say, "Oh, this American thing." Well, first of all, no, it originated in Australia, not really America, and it's actually a global thing. We operate in over 80 countries around the world, and that was one of the attractions for me initially. This was a business that was proven, and now even more so, operates in all markets. It operates in first world developed countries, and it operates in third world and developing countries, much like South Africa was and still is. So that was an attraction for me. And I think the danger always is people will say, "Oh, well, this won't work for me." And we had that. We had absolute belief and conviction that this would work in South Africa, but people would say things like, "No, this won't work in South Africa because South Africans don't like paying for services. They are egotistical, do-it-themselves kind of people, and they don't ask for help." And that's a mindset. And we launched the business, and as we were moving out of the major kind of economic hub of Johannesburg, and we were, say, going to the coast, people would say, "Oh, no, this won't work in Cape Town. It'll work in Johannesburg. It'll never work in Cape Town." Because in Cape Town, people don't like paying for services. They're egotistical, do-it-yourself kind of people, and they don't ask for help. And even if we went into the smaller regional centers, people would say the same thing. It would work in Cape Town, but it would never work here. I think our mindset as individuals are always, it's not going to work for me. Here's the reality. Business is the same everywhere in the world. Do we have nuances that are different? We have electricity shortages. We have really stringent labor laws. We have challenges that are maybe unique to our country. That doesn't change the basics of business. You need to generate business. You need to manage the funds that you generate, and you need to do it in a way that there's something left over both to reinvest and to grow and invest and have wealth from. The fundamentals are the same. The nuances might be different here and there, but the fundamentals are the same. And that was part of the attraction initially. And 17 years later, it's more than ever the reality that this works with any business in any market. And we've got probably one of the most diverse markets to pick from, and we've seen it work just as well here.
And 17 years is proof as quite a resume, to say the least. Going back those 17 years, do you feel, is there anything, when you look back, is there anything you would do different now? If knowing now if you knew then what you know now, is there anything that you would do any different?
Yeah, it's very difficult to say, because I think it's always easy to say, well, with the benefit of hindsight, what would I have done differently? Thinking back, obviously we might have made mistakes or taken longer at certain times. But I think we did the right thing at the right time. I think, we chose to work with a PR company and educate the market quite early in the journey. And I think that was very, very important. So we did that. That was good. You need to invest in a team. Sorry. I think you're all going to edit. I've just got some background noises here. We can edit them out. So I think the PR was a good one. We invested in PR to educate the market, which was very important. At the same time, you need to invest in a team. You can't do this on your own. So you need to, as quickly as possible, get the economics to work to do that. And I think the important thing is we sold it from the beginning like that. And I think if I did it again, I'd do it the same. You need to include people in your vision. You need to include people in your long-term impact that you're trying to make and take people along with that journey. And I think that was easy for me because it resonated from my banking career where I saw people struggle. I've seen many, many entrepreneurs get to the point where they can't retire. They lose their business for whatever reason. And this business in particular allows us to actually see the fruits of our labor. The closest I think I've ever come to a similar industry is a teacher. Teachers plant seeds that add such value to individuals, but we never go back and thank the teacher for the impact that they make. The beauty about our business is we actually get to see the impact and be part of that and track that. And it's very gratifying. And I would do it exactly the same if I had to do it all over again.
And no worried about the dogs because we do have dogs too, so it's normal. It's a normal thing, they can't help themselves. What about your transition from banking into the franchise business? Because prior you mentioned the fact that you had to make a transition, and based on your knowledge of what you learn in your banking industry, you've kind of molded it and adapted it to franchise business. So how difficult was that transition, and how did it go, more or less, mentally, psychologically, financially, I'm sure too,
Yeah. So yeah, I think any business ownership, no matter what your experience level, when you do it for yourself, the learning curve is steep, because in a protected environment of especially a corporate role, there's a division doing each thing. It's not even one person, it's a division. There's a sales division, there's a marketing division. When it's your business, you're having to juggle all these balls at the same time. So I think it is an adjustment. It is critical to learn those skills, one, through knowledge acquisition. And obviously we're in the education knowledge game as a franchise, so it was easier, I think, here, but also in application. And I think I remember having a conversation in the early stages with a friend of mine who left corporate more or less the same time. And he said to me one day, he's really struggling with the entrepreneurial syndrome. And I said, what do you mean? He said, no, well, he only gets going at like 10 o'clock in the morning. And I said, no, my friend, you obviously don't understand business. From day one, I would get dressed and I would be at my desk working full days every day. And that has not really changed. We've gone through a massive heat wave in the Cape Town area of South Africa the last few weeks. And I think this is the first time in 17 years that I've gone to work in shorts, because you have to commit to your business. Now, we used to have a joke at the credit division in the bank and said, if you're half the income and double the expenses and the business plan and the cash flow still works out, then you've probably got a good business. And I think that's sometimes the reality. It does take a little bit longer to generate the income. There are some surprising expenses. So there is a crunch time in those early stages of running any business, and there was for me too. At the same time, though, I think that's important, because if you don't have that pressure, how long is a piece of string? You just stretch it out for longer and longer and longer. No, you need that pressure to perform, to get up, to be resilient, to find a solution. And that was part of our journey, which I think is normal, and one should accept that going into it.
That's actually a great advice, because in my experience, when you see someone that usually does not do as well. I'm not saying fail, but does not do as well in franchise businesses because they assume that by now you're becoming the entrepreneur, now you're the owner of the business, now you can actually take it easy and go buy a new car or a new boat or a bigger house. And so it's just a misconception of being an entrepreneur or being a business owner that all of a sudden now you think you own it, but like as you said before, you figured half of the income and double the expense, and it if you take that attitude, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, I think the thing we do as adults in particular is we think we get to the point where we've arrived, where we've got to the top of the mountain. And that doesn't happen when we're younger. When you graduate even kindergarten, within the space of weeks over the summer holidays in the Northern Hemisphere, maybe over the Christmas break in the Southern Hemisphere, you've gone from hero of the kindergarten to a nobody in primary school. That happens again when you go to high school. That happens again when you graduate and you go to college. That happens again when you get a job. Within the space of weeks, you've gone from hero to perceived zero. The reality is you haven't. You've grown to a point and you now got a new foundation with which to build. And when you leave the comfort of a corporate role, that's it. You've just built the base to that level, and now you've got a foundation on which to grow, and you haven't arrived. You start at the bottom of the business ownership chain, and you have to climb that mountain one step at a time. Then when you get to the top, enjoy all the spoils you can. But it doesn't come from day one to take it easy and start late and have coffee and spend all the money. No. It's a business. Treat it as such.
And I think that maybe it's a good idea sometimes to look back where you started, even when you're up at the pinnacle, to look back where you started and say, I could be back there again very quickly if I lose my ways. So, I mean, that is quite interesting. Yeah. Is there anything else that you would like to share about your business, your background, your life?
Yeah, I think my philosophy is work hard and play hard. I had very small kids when I started ActionCOACH. Two of them are now adult. The one has got a few years left of school. I've been able to travel the world and make friends all over the world and go to the most interesting places. This year we'll be off to Croatia for our global conference. One of the most magical experiences I had was an ActionCOACH conference in Beijing, China, standing on the Great Wall of China. I've got a network of friends and colleagues all around the world, and I've done amazing things whilst working. And I think that's the important thing to mix. The business is not separate from life. And I've always included it in it. When we've had Brad out to South Africa, when the kids were a lot younger, they were packing boxes and sorting out books and putting up banners, because life and business get intertwined. And don't let it just be all work and no play. Build the two together. I've always done that. And as long as you're on target when you need to be in the next morning, have some fun, go to bed late, enjoy some tequilas if you have to, with your friends. But when you work, you work. And when you play, you play. And the beauty about this business is it's allowed us to do both whilst impacting lives. And I think that's probably the proudest moment I have of anything in 17 years is many, many, many nuggets of clients and their stories of the impact that we've made. And yes, we've made them a lot of money. Yes, we've grown their businesses. But beyond that, we've restored relationships. We've allowed health to be mended. We've given them back confidence. We had a client yesterday on a radio interview with me, and it was last minute. There wasn't a lot of time to prepare, and he did a phenomenal job. And he sent me a WhatsApp message afterwards, and he said, it's ActionCOACH and the coaching journey and getting my business right that has given me the confidence and the belief to be able to do this. I would never have been able to do this in the past, even with a lot of preparation, and it was last minute. And it's those things that make this worthwhile and that allow me to still get up every day with the same passion and conviction to do it more.
You mentioned all the relationships and friendships you've made around the world, including the global conferences and so forth. And I'm just wondering, so you're basically, what you're saying is you're not alone, even though you're an entrepreneur, you're in business for yourself, but you have a community that just you can draw from and reach out to, no?
Well, it's summed up by a comment of a new franchisee we're bringing on board. So a new franchise partner. We had a call today around her preparation for training. Now, she sat in on some of our webinars. She sat in on some of our sessions. And she left corporate many years ago and started her own business and was more in the psychology space, in the therapy space. And she said, the number one thing that stands out for me in the sessions that I've attended so far is the real genuineness and authenticity of the people and the sense of community and support. And that's something that I've really been lacking in my own practice before that. And that's absolutely right, because we have a fundamental focus on how we go about business, and it's our 14 points of culture. And I always focus in on the team one, because teamwork in a franchise doesn't mean that when you wake up tomorrow and you're struggling, everybody else is worrying how much money they can make for you. No, that's not the teamwork in a franchise. The teamwork in a franchise, and in particular this one, is if you put your hand up and ask for help, people will literally do anything and everything to support you, whether it be your local team, your regional team, or even your global team. And we've seen it through coaches getting sick and not being able to coach their clients, and members of the community around the world stepping in to coach those clients for free. We've seen it through health issues and financial issues and family issues, where people will get in and support each other and stuff like that. And I was sitting at last year's global conference in Thailand, and it was after conference, and we'd had dinner and we were having a few drinks, and it was myself, good friends of ours in San Diego, good friends of ours from New Zealand, good friends of ours from the Netherlands. And we were all sitting there having a conversation way into the early hours of the morning. And we've seen each other grow up as entrepreneurs. We've seen our kids grow up. We've done some of the most amazing things together with people all around the world in different parts of the world. And those friendships don't get built in a corporate scenario. You just don't have that. So, even the relationships with clients. Now I run the franchise in South Africa. So my relationship with clients is indirect to some of them through the coaches. And I have the freedom to pick up the phone, and have a conversation with them, to reach out, and them the same. And that is truly rewarding.
Well, Harry Welby-Cooke, a master licensee for ActionCOACH in South Africa, I really appreciate your time today and wish you the best going forward.
Thank you very much, William. Always a pleasure, and hope that if somebody's listening to this, it sparks some thought to take action. And that's why I always joke and say our company's called ActionCOACH. It's not next year coach or when I get a chance coach. I think every experienced, credible human has that yearning to do something for themselves. And if that's the people listening to this, and I could have impacted that in some way, do your homework. Talk to me, talk to William, talk to people around the world. And if this is the right fit for you, we really look forward to having you on board.
Thank you once again, Harry. Thanks for joining us today, and hope you have gained some valuable insights into the world of franchising. My name is William Lesante, and I would like to invite you to the next episode of the Franchise Coach podcast. Please make sure to like and subscribe and share with your network. Also, click the link below to learn more about franchising with ActionCOACH. Thank you.